everybody. Welcome to the Robla School District Board meeting. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let the record show, I believe, all board members are present and accounted for. So why don't we go ahead and start with the pledge to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, he does that so well every single time you would think it was a recording. I'm sorry, I couldn't help the joke. Okay, moving forward, why don't we go ahead and adopt the agenda? I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
All righty, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I'll move on to communications. At this moment, this is the moment in time in the meeting where we give members of the community an opportunity, or individuals an opportunity to speak on an item that is not on the agenda. So here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and go into the YouTube chat. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and write your comment in the comment section there, and we'll go ahead and we'll read your comments for you. So I'll go ahead and give you guys a few minutes to do that. Just note that even if we do not respond directly at this moment in time to your comment, just know that we are taking it into advisement. We will be looking into whatever concerns are expressed, that you expressed in the comment section that you want to express to us. So we definitely want to encourage you, if there's something that you'd like to say or something that you want to say, please go ahead and do so there at this time. We'll give you a couple of minutes because I know that there's a little bit of a lag. All right. I don't see anything in the comments section yet. So we'll go ahead and move along. And if something does appear later, we will try to make every effort to come back and address the comment. So with that, we're going to move on to item B, which is public hearing on collective bargaining agreement, Sunshine District proposal to RTA. Mr. Reyes, I'm assuming you're going to speak to this.
Yes, good evening. This is just part of the process that is required when we are to embark upon bargaining with any of our associations. Those conversations must begin with a sunshining of the proposal from the district, and then, as you see in the next item, a sunshining from the proposal from the association itself. So this really just kind of introduces to the public what we think we will be talking about when we come together. And this is the opportunity, of course, for the public to provide any comment on that if they would like to do so.
Excellent. Okay, so with that, we will call this hearing open. We'll give you an opportunity once again to go ahead and make any comments in the comments section, in the chat section there on the YouTube. So we'll give you a few minutes to go ahead and do that. but I was watching the YouTube channel waiting for my lips to stop moving. That's how I know that the audience know, or the people who are watching know that they can make comments. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments. So with that, I will
close the hearing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you make a motion to close the hearing?
I did.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Now move on to item C, public hearing, collective bargaining agreement, Sunshine RTA proposal to the district. So this is the proposal that the RTA is making to the district. With that, I will entertain we'll call the hearing open and see if you guys have any comments. All right, I'm not seeing any comments. So with that, I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So move.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to presentation / information. We'll move on to item A, Robla SPSA update.
Mr. Penman, oh, go ahead, Mr. Penman.
I am here. Hello, everyone. I am Mario Penman, the principal of Robla School. Good evening, Superintendent Reyes, board members, and audience members. I'm going to do a quick update for you today on our plan. Thank you for having me here. As you know, and I'm sure you've heard from my colleagues, we usually look at our CASP scores year to year to kind of modify our goals and activities and see progress. As you know, we don't have that right now, but it's a bit different. We're learning never stops, and so we look at other data sources to make our decisions, which we're doing. If you look at distance learning and our participation logs, most, if not all, are showing up to class on a daily basis. Now, there were some that were very, very difficult to engage. So we had Sandy Graham's team of social workers and other school staff, and just about everybody is logged on at this point in time. So I'm thankful for that work from them. One of the things in our site plans is attendance and incentives. Our budget for that attendance is a bit larger this year because during distance learning, it's very hard to get our kids engaged. So we're trying to give them a little bit more incentive. Our attendance is 97%, which is pretty high this year. Our chronic absenteeism is only 7 students, which is also very low. But although that is good news, there's kind of a downside, which I'll get to in a few minutes. I will continue to monitor that attendance and the chronic absenteeism, as I always do, with my secretarial assistant, Jana Cooper, and the CSC, Linda Schlesinger, to make sure that our kids are excited about coming to school, even when it's distance learning. Even though we do not have the CASP scores, we continue to track reading and math scores with formal and informal assessments. TCI did a great job of giving us a different kind of pacing, and the assessments looked a little bit different too. I'm sure Gail Hunt has shared that with you. We are working a little bit different during distance learning, but we still have assessments to look at to decide what we're going to do with our children as far as interventions or other types of supports that we have to do for them. All I will say is that things are a bit tougher to get accurate scores. If we look at our scores, it's a lot tougher to have our kids actually do some of those assignments. We try to do our best to get them to do as much as we can. I know that our teachers are working hard to do that as well. We're constantly talking to parents, and we're trying to incentivize our children through PBIS and our reward systems. That has been helpful, and it has impacted some of the children that we're worried about. The teachers have also done a wonderful job of trying to inspiring the kids on a regular basis, and that's helped tremendously. As far as teachers and monitoring instruction, that's obviously a little bit more difficult, but I'm getting online all the time to make sure that I'm giving my teachers support and I'm giving them feedback. I go into their Zooms quite often throughout a week. Usually the plan also, in the site plan, it also has opportunities for teachers to go to other classrooms and kind of learn from each other. I'm a big proponent of that. Obviously, this year is a little bit different, so that will continue when we get back to school at some point. But like I said, I am always there to give them support and feedback as well. One of the biggest reasons we came up with the Knowledge Nook was because of that. They needed a little bit more support with distance learning. I'm thankful for all of those teachers that did the work on that committee to help the collective teachers across the district. I'm also truly proud of the teachers and IAs for how much they've grown in this platform. From where we started until and where we are now has been just incredible to watch their growth with distance learning. And for that fact of the matter, it's also the kids have been amazing during this platform as well. There's a lot of growth for them. In this plan, you will see that I've allocated a little bit more for apps. That's not generally the case when we're in person learning. The apps that I purchased are resources for ELA and math for asynchronous time for students, and apps that engage the students in more in their learning. And it also has a component that I was very excited about. It monitors their work in real time. As our students work on their Chromebooks, we can't always see what they're doing. And so there is an app that shows you exactly what the students are doing in real time, which is pretty amazing. So that was a great resource that we found for them. Another section in our plan is, of course, parent engagement. Our parents continue to support our school as much as they can through this platform, through PBIS and school site council committees. This, of course, has been done via Zoom, just as back to school night and parent conferences has. Our parent back to school night went up 30% from last year, and our conferences went up 7%. The parents commented that they really enjoyed the opportunity of staying at home and not having to physically go to the school. And I think that caused us to have more participation. So that was really nice. A lot of the parents said, hey, can we do this next time? So maybe that's something we could think about, especially if we get more people to join our efforts. As far as the site plan for transition model, when we decide to come back at some point, everything for the most part will stay the same budget-wise. I am going to definitely allocate more money towards tutoring and interventions. That is something that I have been a big proponent at Robla as well, is that students who need that support, we're going to work with them after school to get them that extra support. Distance learning has been very difficult for everyone involved, and I just want to thank the children and the families for all of their diligence and their hard work during this tough time. And of course, my staff across the board, that I thank them as well. That's my quick update. I will have a more comprehensive presentation for you very soon in April, where the plans are a lot more detailed than it was tonight. Today was just kind of share where we're at kind of at Robla School at this point in time. So thank you for allowing me to share today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Mr. Penman, I just think it's quite want to recognize the.
You just muted yourself, Dennis.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Let me get that arrow off of there. But that you're able to use PBIS and all effectively. It's encouraging to hear that, and that you can incorporate in the distance learning. And just even though it's not detailed, just hearing what you're saying compared to some of the other non-achievements that are here occurring in other districts around the area, I just think need to be commended. And that attendance rate, and that there's a lot shaken out from this pandemic. Like you say, the parents enjoying that, and then you get more parent participation, I agree, is worth looking into. But at the same time, if we do that, and it may even be better to have an opportunity for the parents to come and see the work that's done in the classroom that is presented on those parent nights, and it would be a more positive atmosphere for the parents to come in and see that if the meeting is done on the Zoom. Anyways, thank you for the presentation.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, special services during distance learning.
Okay, and that would be me. And I have some slides to show. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see if I can do this here. Let's see. Okay, can everyone see my screen there? My slides?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sandy Graham, and I am the Special Education Director. And tonight I'm going to be presenting special services in the COVID-19 pandemic environment as a special request from the board. So I'll just go ahead and start. So as we all know, last year in March, our schools closed due to COVID-19. In the following weeks, staff members developed learning packets and began to think about how to deliver special education services in a distance learning model. By April 15th, Chromebooks were being distributed to students, and we worked in conjunction with our SELPA to establish new processes to ensure compliance with existing special education laws, and most importantly, to provide the best services possible given our situation. We decided as a special education team that we would adopt the motto, to the greatest extent possible, that in a distance learning environment, we would do everything we could to make sure our students received the best possible services that we could provide. With our new distance learning model, we had to restructure how we serve students with IEPs and 504 plans. There were no waivers, and IDEA, our law that governs services to students with special learning needs, was in full implementation. In partnership with the SELPA, we developed an individual distance learning plan form to help us provide IEP services in a situation that made it impossible to serve our students in our traditional model of in-person learning. IDLPs helped staff and parents create learning plans that were individualized and helped outline how specialized services would be provided to our students in a distance learning model. Accommodations for students with 504 plans were folded into the instruction that was happening in Google Classrooms and revised when needed in order to support students during online instruction. Early in spring of 2020, processes were developed to help guide and adapt how special education referrals and assessments were processed. Our district-wide multi-tiered system of support, or also known as MTSS, was adapted to support teachers with their referrals for students who needed support. We added our coordinators of school climate, or our CSCs, Anjum Khan and Linda Schlesinger, to our MTSS teams for added support, and continue to provide Tier 1, Tier 2 supports as necessary for struggling students. It was a bit challenging at first, and there were some initial delays, but we got a rhythm down and began to process special education referrals and assignments. The district purchased special digitized assessment tools to help special education staff with online assessments, and students began to participate in one-to-one in-person testing sessions at school sites within the district. With a bit of time, training, and digital therapy resources, we were able to improve the way that we provided services like specialized academic instruction, speech, occupational and physical therapy, behavior, and mental health supports. Therapists have adapted their service methods to provide online teletherapy that may include any combination of online instruction, use of digital materials, paper packets, and parent consultation. Specialists and teachers continue to provide specific accommodations to students who need them. Communication with families is key, and our special education staff continue to have regular communication with families through phone calls, emails, and texts. Regular communication between special education staff and teachers is equally important to monitor student progress and needs. Staff have regular weekly office hours and provide resources to families when needed. We've had 2 parent trainings by Sarah Hall, our board certified behavior analyst, through Zoom to offer ideas and strategies for their child's behavior during distance learning. We have gotten quite adept at holding our MTSS and IEP meetings through Zoom, and our staff has reported that parent attendance at IEPs has increased as it has given our parents more flexibility to attend these meetings from their homes and places of work. Case managers are using an array of strategies to support students who are struggling. Some of these strategies include an immediate phone call or text home when a student doesn't show up for their Zoom meeting, changing Zoom meeting times to accommodate family schedules, using creative student schedules, and reminders to support student attendance. We know students are experiencing learning loss, and we are monitoring this through regular IEP benchmark testing. If students require compensatory services that are determined by an IEP team, we will work with parents to find the very best plan for that student. We have a student find program for students who are not showing up to their Zoom classes. These students and families are referred to our student find program, where our social workers begin to reach out and a home visit will be made. Typically, these home visits serve as a prompt to parents to get their students back to class, or we find a family who is in crisis, and then our social workers can provide assistance with needed resources. We knew from the beginning the well-being and mental health of our students was going to be a big factor in this pandemic. As part of our district-wide processes, all teachers start their day with a social emotional learning lesson from our district-adopted CEL curriculum second step. This past fall, we provided training and purchased materials for all teaching staff for the zones of regulation, a cognitive and behavioral approach to teaching students how to self-regulate and to use positive strategies to control their emotions and impulses. We have a mental health section on the Robla website that was updated specifically for the pandemic to offer mental health information and resources for students and families. We continue to offer group and individualized counseling sessions through Zoom, and for some students requiring crisis support, our counselors will see students in person. Our mental health team is made up of 3 district social workers, 1 full-time county social worker, 3 full-time psychologists, and our program specialist, who is also a psychologist, who oversees our educationally related mental health services, or what we call ERMs. And that's for those students with the most intensive mental health needs. In trying to get an idea of how some of our students with IEPs and the most significant needs in the district are responding to distance learning, a survey was provided to our 6 special day class teachers, asking them, in general, how would you categorize your students' participation rate? 66% of students' participation rate is characterized as good, and 30% is characterized as poor. Another question asked to these same SDC teachers was, given your best estimates, what % of your students are making some kind of progress toward their IEP goals? It appears equally split at 33% for each percentage range category. So for example, looking at the green section, 33% of SDC teachers felt that 75 to 100% of their students were making some kind of progress toward their IEP goals, and so on. So in general, 25 to 100% of our students are making some kind of progress towards their IEP goals. And it is good to note that no students fell into that 0 to 25% category. So what's next? We will continue to provide our students with an array of service methods best suited for individual needs. Decisions for individual students will be made through their IEP teams, and that includes parent input as they are an integral part of those teams. We will continue to move through our MTSS process to help identify supports for struggling students, and we will continue to monitor our students for learning loss, which might include some type of compensatory service to support those students who may be experiencing significant regression. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to say thank you for looking into all this and preparing this for us. It's fantastic to hear that you have more parent participation in the IEPs and that they're working the IEP into their home life with their children, and that's great. And it's so exciting to hear that even with everything going on, the students are still working towards achieving their goals. And it seems like they were all doing, if not very well, at least progressing.
Yes.
So thank you so much for doing that. And I must commend you. Everything that you have done sounds fantastic and amazing, and keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Any other comments or questions?
I just like to thank Trustee Devine for her input. I know this issue is close to her, and I believe she's the one that's been reported. I do appreciate the feedback that you gave. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thanks, Mrs. Graham.
Okay, we're going to move on now to item C, which is CALLI or Cali and PLST.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen and unpack those acronyms for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, everybody see that okay?
Here we go. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you and good evening, everyone. My name is Cindy Lyon. For those of you who have not met me yet, I am the Director of State and Federal Programs for the district. And I'm giving you this presentation today as I'm the lead for our group that is in the California Language and Learning Initiative Collaborative. And I also am the administrative lead for the professional learning support teachers. So in recognition that Trustee Devine is new to hearing some of this information, and though this work has started, why am I not moving forward? Hold on one second. Should be in presentation mode, but it's not moving forward. Excuse me, I'm going to pull out for a second and try this again. Okay, everybody see it okay? And it moved forward, awesome. Okay, that's good news. Okay, so this work actually started way back in 2011 when we wrote our first grant with the Central Valley Foundation. And it's a continuum that's been happening since 2011 with a focus and working with nonprofit organizations that have a direct focus in trying to help move the needle on academic performance for special groups, student groups. And in this case, the focus has been primarily on the English language learners. So back in 2011, we wrote our first grant, which was for an EL summer school. That was a 3-year grant. Then we received a second 3-year grant to continue that work. And in this process, we were actually able to get more involved with the California Educational Partners, a different organization that's actually through the Bill Gates Foundation. The Central Valley Foundation was part of McClatchy. And with our work with Central Valley, we were introduced to CalEd Partners, and we were invited to participate in one of their collaboratives. And so the collaborative that we first started participating in 2016 was the academic language cohort. So the focus there was building the opportunity for academic language to be happening in our classrooms. And we spent 3 years in that collaborative. As our work progressed in that collaborative, we realized in looking in our data and through our meetings and research with the team that we really needed to do some work in early literacy. The Academic Language Collaborative was meant to be a 3-year collaborative, and they offered a 2-year extension on that for us to continue working with them. And we opted to move to a new cohort that was also under CALI or California Academic Language and Learning Initiative. And that cohort was focused on early literacy in the primary grades. And so for the past year and a half, that's where we've been working. And so most of my presentation today is regarding our work in that cohort. That cohort does come to an end in 2021 at the end of this school year, but we continue to do our work. And there's another collaborative that started this year called the P3CC, which is a collaborative that's looking more at math performance, and it's looking at preschool up through 3rd grade. And so that's a different collaborative. I'm not on that collaborative team, but I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we've been doing in the early literacy. So one of the things that we do, and when we join these collaboratives, is we meet as teams on 3 times a year. And prior to COVID, we would actually go off campus. We would go to a location with other districts, and we would work within our district and our group, and also work with other districts that has similar issue or similar high focus area that they wanted to see movement on. And so we'd be able to work together to try to solve common problems, that are experienced throughout the state of California. So in our collaborative, we always start off with trying to come up with what is our goal by the end of each year that we're working. So in 2021, they call this our aim. And this was the aim that we had created for the 2021 school year. And the aim is always based on data. The work is based in data. The work is based on summative data, and then it's based on data that is formative as we go through this process. So this is the aim that we had set. As you can see, we have 2 aims because we want to move all our students. We have so many students, the good majority of our students are socially, economically disadvantaged, which is also a student group that tends to not perform at state average, as well as that 50% or just under 50% of our population is English learners. Coming up with an aim was a little tricky for us because the data is a little tricky at this point in time. And so even when we were setting this aim, it was looking at, well, what kind of data are we collecting on a district level to really look at early literacy? So as we come up with an aim, we also come up with change ideas, and we have cycles of improvement through these change ideas. So I'm going to share with you what the 3 change ideas were that we started with for this year. And these change ideas are evolving as we take a look at them. We just had our winter convening where we assessed these 3 original change ideas and made either modifications, they call it adapt, adopt, or abandon. And so I'll share with you a little bit where we are at. So one of the first things that came up was assessments, and what assessment data do we have to really look at early literacy in the primary grades? And so we decided we need to find out if what we have is really the best and what are teachers really using, because we knew our teachers were doing a lot of various types of assessments to use as formative assessment to move their kids forward. And so we decided that we needed to take a survey and find out what are teachers doing, what types of assessments are they using. So in that survey, I apologize if this shows up small on your screen, but on that survey, what we did is we looked and we saw that the things that were most important to our primary teachers were concept of print, letter verification or identification or naming, the Phonics Survey, which was great to see because we thought that was important, and that's why we had it as part of our AIM goal, or the data that we would be looking at, high frequency words, and then fluency, running records, and writing prompts. One of the things we found was that the Wonders units, which is our adopted curriculum, and the Wonders weekly assessments weren't as helpful for teachers. When we asked them, what are you using and what do you find helpful? Some of the things that the teachers had to say were regarding the Phonics Survey and how they utilize the Phonics Survey. And they really do utilize this data to drive instruction, to look at student groups and think about interventions and to guide their teaching. What do they need to teach next? What do they need to reteach? And what students need some form of intervention, whether it's tier 1, directly right there in the classroom with the classroom teacher, tier 2, where an intervention specialist, or tier 3, which is a much higher level of intervention. So what did that data tell us? So we were able to get data from T1 or trimester 1. And this is a combination of the data for kindergartners and first graders who were given the Phonics Survey in trimester 1, as well as they're given it at the beginning of the year. So we have what's called a BOY, or beginning of year assessment, and then T1 assessment. And what we wanted to see is, how are we doing at getting closer to our aim? So as you saw, our aim was we wanted to see that 75% of the students were able to meet or be advanced in the Phonics Survey. And when we look at this data, when you look at it at this glance, it looks great. It looks like we have about 64% of our students are on target when you look at K1 together. And 61% of ELs are on target. So again, that shows us that there's a little variance in terms of our English learners performing slightly lower than the rest of the population. So this is everybody, the graph on the left, and the English learners is the graph on the right. But then when you take a closer look or take a closer glance, because it really is just a glance, this is just a window in time. So I just kind of want to caution that it's just a picture, a quick snapshot. And we can't really say that this one trimester snapshot is going to be indicative of where we're going to be at the end of the year. And part of that is because the Phonics Survey builds as the year goes on. And so there are new skills that are introduced on the Phonics Survey as we go through the year. And so it could be that this is where we are with the skills that they've learned so far, but as we introduce new skills, are they going to stay at this level and continue to accelerate? And so I thought this was really interesting data to be looking at just a glance, because when you look at kindergarten, on the left side of your screen there, it shows that the number of students that are at basic or met, meaning they hit the target that we wanted them to hit on this trimester 1 phonics assessment, is 78% overall and 75% of English learners. The other interesting piece was in that quick glance, we didn't see any students that were in the far below basic category when it came to that phonics assessment. But then if you look to the right, when we look at first grade, and again, we're looking at how many students hit basic or advanced, we dropped to 49% of the students overall. So when we put the two grades together, we were at 68. But when we look at the two grades, 64, excuse me. But when we look at the two grades individually, we see quite a variance. So 49% overall. And in this category, in first grade, English learners are actually outperforming overall all the students. But again, they're included in that overall data. So it's just a snapshot. But this is also where we start seeing quite a number of students start falling in this far below basic category on the assessment. So that's just real food for thought, and really kind of part of our next steps of, what is this data telling us, and what do we need to do? And what will this look like when we do trimester 2? We'll do the same thing. We'll kind of take a look and see, okay, so now what's happening in trimester 2? This is the first time we're looking at the data this way. And so we're really just getting our footing. Yes, Trustee Devine.
While we're on this, for the first graders where it shows they're falling behind, could this be because they lost 2 months or because of everything that happened at the end of last year?
Definitely.
Okay.
And that's why I say it's just a glance, because again, we're in this pandemic situation. First grade teachers are highly stressed at trying to teach phonics and reading in a online setting, and teaching basic skills and basic sounds, in this distance learning environment. So it could very well be, indicative of kind of the situation that we're currently in.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to know if the big drop from kindergarten to first was maybe because they didn't do so well, and we were trying to figure out how to teach kids the last couple months last year. So thank you for clarifying that for me.
Right. Yeah, and that's some of the conversation that we want to have, because also too, we can look at that and we'd say, okay, so who are these students that are far below basic? Are these students that we're having a hard time engaging online? Are these students with high number of absences, or what is the picture? But it just gives us kind of a sense of starting to really kind of look at and go, okay, here's somewhere we need to investigate this a little bit more. And again, this would be very interesting, right, to compare next year when we have the kids all back in, like what would the data look like? Because that would really tell us about what kind of learning loss really did happen during the pandemic, especially at the first grade level. Currently at kindergarten, it looks like things are going okay, right, in this distance learning setting. But all good questions that give us food for thought, things to ponder. So after we've looked at the data, we've also come up with some what we call change ideas, some actions to implement in the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle to help move us forward in our efforts to meet our aim. So one of the opportunities that has been really wonderful through our work with CalEd partners and the Cali initiative and collaborative is that we have these thought partners. So when we were in Understanding Language, we worked with Jess Weirs and Stephen Wise from Stanford University. They were our thought partners. They provided professional learning for our teachers. We did a lot of work with them. And then now in this collaborative, we're working with Nancy Akavan, who is a assistant professor in the Department of Educational Research and Administration at Cal State University, Fresno. She's a former assistant superintendent of school leadership for middle schools in Fresno's Unified School District. And she's also done work with large urban districts in the Central Valley. Her area, her expertise is balanced literacy, and she's written about 8 books on the subject. So originally, we had Nancy, and she did some professional learning for us early on before the school year even started. We are able to, we also received funding. I want to touch on that we've also received some funding to help fund some professional learning outside of the normal calendar. So with that funding, we were able to provide some professional learning for teachers before their contract actually started and before we went into distance learning in August. And she talked about balanced literacy. All the teachers received this book. This is Balanced Literacy. And we've continued to work around the materials in this book, as well as another one that is Balanced Literacy and Activities in the Classroom for Balanced Literacy. Coming up, actually, next month is the first session, is we're going to have the opportunity where Nancy Akavan and Jeff Swears are working together to bring kind of those 2 collaboratives and the work in those 2 collaboratives together for some professional learning. So they're going to have 3 1.5-hour sessions that are offered through Zoom at the end of the school day. And again, we applied for the grants and have grant funding to pay teachers to attend this training on their own time. And they're going to talk about, so now we've been doing shared reading. It's kind of been our focus for the first part of our balanced literacy. And we had been focusing on academic discourse, and they're going to come together and say, okay, so what does academic discourse look like in shared reading when you're working on the shared reading component of balanced literacy? So I'm very excited about that. So initially, we had hoped to have Nancy have some consultants that she also works with, because she works with many of the districts in that collaborative throughout the Central Valley. And so we have a coach that works for her named Gail. I want to make sure I get her name right, so please give me 1 second. Gail, no, I can't say. Fedriani, thank you. Gail Fedriani. And she originally, the idea was here's some more acronyms, right? Acronym world crazy. So PLSTs are professional learning support teachers, which are like coaches for teachers. PLC is our professional learning communities. Those are the meetings that grade level teachers, site staff, and district staff will have to work on student performance and student data. So we originally wanted to have an opt-in PLC, or professional learning community, that teachers could be participants in, and we would have Nancy Akhavan and her coaches working with teachers. Well, of course, this is not your normal year, and it's been a bit of a challenge. We also have our own teacher, Miss Shannon Cannon, who came to us from UC Davis, who was also going to start working with a cohort of teachers so that we could continue this work even when we weren't in the collaborative. But because of this current situation, they're working directly just with the coaches, the PLSTs. The PLSTs are working with Nancy and Gail to gain this knowledge to then move it forward with our teachers when we come back into a more normal situation where it seems more appropriate to be asking teachers to do some additional work. We do have some teachers that are interested, and they're the coaches, the PLSTs are working with them even now, but to really formally do these professional learning communities, that the whole idea was an ongoing throughout the year. We're looking forward to hopefully doing that next year. So one of the things that the coaches are doing, or the PLSTs are doing with Gail, is they're looking at strategies during shared reading time. What strategies can we implement to improve student comprehension during shared reading? And so one of these things that they're currently working on is called this reverse gradual release process. So normally we are in a process of, I as the teacher, I do, then we do, then you do. This whole strategy kind of reverses that whole process. So you start off with more of a productive struggle in the students, and you bring them back in after you see how much you as the teacher needs to do. So it's a new way of looking at things for our teachers, and our coaches are implementing this in their classroom and then sharing it with other teachers as they're feeling their way through it and as other teachers are interested. The next idea we had was about administrative walkthroughs. And this is for us to get a snapshot of how things are going in the classroom on a regular basis. So this is something that we were already doing, but we wanted to have a tool to really focus in on what we were trying to see, what we were looking at. So prior to the pandemic, we started working with a company called DigiCoach, and Robla created its own tool that we were going to implement. But then pretty much we had about not even a month of having the tool to trial when we went into the pandemic state and schools were closed. So that kind of fell on the back burner, but DigiCoach came up with an online tool. And so what we've been committed to is utilizing this online tool. Is my share screen sitting in front of my, or is that just for me? Nothing's blocking your view, right?
No,
Okay.
Chair.
It's
Okay.
Fine. Yep, it's good.
Okay, thank you. So this is an example of the different categories that could be on this remote learning tool, different areas that we might focus on while in a classroom. And it allows us, this tool actually allows us to electronically record some data, and it provides some already pre-fed feedback that we could send directly to the teachers in an email, where we can also add our own personal, a principal can add their own personal touches to that email, but it just gives us an opportunity to really focus in on some specific points. And what we've decided during this time, because this tool is new and it's new to teachers as well, is that we're really trying to just focus on, now my thing stopped moving. Let's see what happens here. There we go. We really decided that we're mainly focusing on the engagement portion, because that's been a concern and a point of interest that we thought that let's hone this down a little bit. So we're looking at the engagement column, mainly in our walkthroughs for this purpose, for this grant and this work. So those were our three main change ideas. As far as the first change idea, which was the survey was completed. It showed us what teachers were utilizing. We've also been working with Nancy and CalEd partners to talk about really what are the best indicators for literacy, for early literacy, that students are on their way in the K-1, and phonics is one of the best indicators. And so we feel we're on the right track there. We do want to hone our skills and our assessment down to make sure that it's being implemented throughout the district in the same uniform way, so that as we collect the data, we're making sure that we're collecting uniform data across the district, which we've already worked on that process, but we just know we need to fine tune it. The other thing that we've learned is that we want to make sure that when we receive data, that it's data that can be utilized by more than just the current classroom teacher. So some things that have come up is like, how do we have some data that when I release my kids from first grade to second grade, that second grade teacher doesn't have to then go, okay, I need to figure out where the kids are. But when I release them, I can release them with the data that's going to give that second grade teacher to know, okay, here's where they're at. Here's what they're ready for. We want to continue work on the balanced literacy. Balanced literacy actually has 6 components, and we've just started that work because we're working with shared reading, which is only one of the 6 components. We'd like to continue with our professional learning support teachers and them continuing to work with our classroom teachers. We've had some talk and some ideas about, what else can we do? One of the things that we do is that we have a teacher curriculum institute that meets every summer to look at our assessments and our map of how we're teaching through the school year to prepare us for the next school year, and to meet with each grade level to share with them, where we are, or if an assessment was modified, or if there's a new assessment that comes into play. And then we've also talked about the idea of, wouldn't it be great if we could have a summer reading institute? So anytime we had any new teachers join the Robla School District that was going to be a primary grade teacher, we would make sure that they were well-versed in our reading program, what our balanced literacy looks like, what our assessment looks like, and what our teaching looks like for our primary grades. And as always, we have our professional learning communities, and those will continue. The teachers love them. I think administrators love them. It's just a great opportunity to have a forum to look at this plan, do, study, act cycle, and so that we can continue with continuous improvement. And that's my presentation for you. Any questions or comments?
Board members, any questions or comments?
I appreciate the presentation. It's always, you always give a good detailed presentation. I do appreciate that, Cindy. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I will just note that, there was a lot of talk about data, and I know that at least all those who are on Zoom, staff and board members understand this, but for those who are watching, I know sometimes there's this tendency to say, well, they're testing our kids too much, and there's too much emphasis on testing. And really, it's not about testing, but it's about assessments, and it's about helping to know and understand exactly where students are, both as groups, as classrooms, as schools, as grade levels, but also as individuals. And that data that we get, when we're talking about data, it comes from those assessments, and it helps our teachers and our staff and our administrators and us as a board make decisions that are so that we're implementing things and doing things that are directly impacting and improving the educational opportunities for students. And I don't think there's a better example than what we saw in terms of just during this presentation about how that data directly affects decisions that are made. And it's not just, these aren't just decisions like, hey, we're just going to try this. These are, okay, we see where the need is. How do we meet that need? Let's apply it. And then we can then use the assessments once again to find out if those decisions that we made, those things that we're implementing are actually working. So thank you so much for the presentation. It was very informative.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I say just one more thing real quick? I'm always doing that, I know. But I know how much we've invested and how long we've invested in the PLSTs, and it's always encouraging to see how rewarding it is paying off. I know we put a lot of work into it, but I've being in Bell Avenue a lot, I was aware of the PLSTs and how effective they were, and it's good to see that they are still being effective in this time of the pandemic, and it's great that we had them in place to be able to deal with this too. I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons we have such a jump on so many other districts. So thanks again.
Thank you.
I wanted to make one real quick comment because I was thinking about this before Trustee DeLuce spoke about data, and I think you're right in the sense that we do talk about a lot of data. We bring up data, and I'm glad you talked about the importance of it. And for the audience and for people watching at home, and for people who maybe aren't watching but know people who are watching, we do get kind of bogged down in technical terms and data. And it's kind of easy for us to understand this because we see it all the time, and actually sometimes with a session like this we're still learning stuff, but we see this stuff all the time. And for people who are watching at home, if you hear something and see something and you don't understand it, we're here. The whole district is here to help you, and so please ask questions. Call the superintendent's office. Reach out to that office. Reach out to your principals. Reach out to us. We're here to help you. So we don't want this to be to the point that it's over people's heads. But we know that sometimes it gets that way, especially when we're throwing around acronyms and things like that. So please reach out to us and talk to us. We're here for you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Right.
Trustee Barnes. That's so true. And I'm constantly trying to remember, but there's so much, so many acronyms in education and so much that it's a constant effort to remember that I may be speaking a different language.
Excellent input, Mr. Barnes. Thank you so much. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to item D, the California Employers sorry, that was really easy for me to say. California Employers Retiree Benefit Trust with CalPERS.
Mr. Castillo is going to speak to this. It's an interesting new concept, and I'm excited to inform the board in terms of what this is about. So, Mr. Castillo.
Yes. Good evening, President DeLuz, board members, and Superintendent Reyes. Could you hear me? Okay. Just want to check. Okay, so I will share my presentation now. I'm going to share my presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and slideshow from the beginning. Okay, so here we go. Tonight, the goal of our presentation is to provide information regarding pre-funding other post-employment benefits known as OPED by creating an employer retiree benefit trust. OPED is the legal term for health benefits for retirees, and you will hear me referring to this term in the future slides. So just one more term, just like before. Before discussing the why our district should pre-fund retiree benefits, let's review our health benefits our district offers to retirees. For anyone who works in our district for 20 years and retires at 55 years old, the district pays 100% of health benefits up to age 65. This is our promise to our employees, is in our contract language. Based on the actuary, our district pays will pay $153,981 for year 2021, and we have a liability of $4.6 million. This is based on the latest actuary that it was completed as of June 30, 2020. So these are the reasons why our district should pre-fund other post-employment benefits. And first, it generates investment income for the future retirees, reduces cash flow year after year for districts, and reduces the liability in our books. I want to share in this slide that although we are not required, we discuss it with both our bargaining partners, RTA and CSEA, the benefits of creating an OPED trust. Perhaps the best way to explain the benefits of pre-funding OPED is with an example. In this particular example, this district in 2008 had a liability of $7.86 million. And they were, I went to the slides. And they were paying as pay as you go, just as we do right now. Then they start pre-funding the benefits, and a decade later in 2017, the liability was reduced to $2.1 million, and they have assets of 2.2. They contribute $1.5 million, and they earn investment of $690,732. So this CalPERS Trust, there are 577 government organizations, including 72 school districts. They participate in the California Employees Retirement Benefit Trust with CalPERS. Sacramento County Office of Education is one of those counties. An OPED trust is an employer expenditure plan and can only be used to pay for retiree health benefits. So there are a lot of numbers on this slide. So I just wanted to, with 570 organizations that we discussed, I want to share that this is a big pool. They have a total assets of $14 billion. So what this means, if we became part of this trust, CalPERS Trust for OPED, we became part of this big pool. There are 3 strategies that CalPERS uses, and the employer with a district will select which one do we want to invest our funds. One very important key to this trust is that we decide if, when, and how much we contribute. This is as opposed to pension costs that we are required to contribute a percentage amount no matter what, year after year. So under this program, in some years, we might contribute more than others. In some, we might not contribute any. So a question that you might ask is, how much it costs to participate? So CalPERS, I think, is a government not-for-profit organization, and they charge 10 basis points. This is an investment terminology. What 10 basis points means is $1,000 for every $1 million invested in assets. So once we get $1 million, there will be an annual cost of $1,000. CalPERS has been charging 10 basis points since 2014. So it's for 7 years. However, in the contract, it says that the rates are subject to change. So what is required to participate in the CalPERS Trust? So there are a total of 6 documents that we need to complete or submit. The 2 most important are the contract agreement and the delegation of authority to request reimbursements. These 2 documents require board approval. Our delegation authority in your packet includes 3 employees: the superintendent, the chief of human resources, and the CBO. 2 of the 3 need to sign. The actuary is also in your package, and we just included just for your information. CalPERS Trust has a team of employees to answer any questions and to help. On this particular case, we spoke with Mr. Matt Goss, a program manager, and Ms. Jean McDonald, she's the analyst in CalPERS. We have been working to create this trust for several months, including meetings with our bargaining partners. And thank you for listening, and we're available to answer any questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions, comments?
So this is going to help alleviate the CalPERS problem that we're indebted to?
No, this is not. This is just to meet our obligation to the promise that we make to our employees that is in our contract language regarding the retiree for health benefits. So this is not for this is all for health benefits.
Okay, thank you.
So
I that's what I thought it was, but I was under the impression that we were going to come up with a solution that we've all been longing for.
So if I could just interject here, I think it's important to just summarize by saying this is not a required thing, right? I'm very proud that Mr. Castillo is looking at different ways to help secure our future, and this is simply a way for us not to have to every year look at the general fund and see, okay, well, how much is it going to cost us to pay the retiree benefits that we have to pay each year, which, as he showed, it can be a costly endeavor that we have. So, in years when we're doing fine, then obviously paying those benefits are not a problem. But obviously, when we get to years where we have some funding issues, that's an added burden to our budget to have to pay those benefits. And we are obligated to them, obviously, because that's something that is in the contract with our employees. So this is simply a way to fund it differently. And it won't pay off tomorrow. Obviously, we have to invest, and then we have to start to get the gains from that investment. But over time, this would be a way. Mr. Castillo and I have said that probably he nor I will be around in the district when the district starts to benefit from this investment. But in our duty to work and secure, the financial security of the district in the future, it seems like a wise investment now. And I'll just say this one last thing. As a superintendent, I'm very pleased about the flexibility that comes with this. So, as he said, there's no requirement every year that you do it. If we're having a year where funding is tough, then that would be a year where we're not going to invest very much or invest anything at all because we can't afford to do so, and we have that flexibility with this plan. So I just feel like it's we're bringing it to the board because we think it's a smart thing to do.
Mr. Castillo, did you say we get to pick the investments? Did I hear that correctly?
They have three strategies, so it's very simple. What it is that like every financial institution, they have one that is they call it aggressive, moderate, and conservative. So yes, we decide not every investment. We just decide a strategy, and CalPERS has the investors who people work on this kind of, we became part of the pool.
Okay. That
We will not, that's not our expertise. We will not be working on doing like, oh, buying this funds versus others. No.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you for that. Is there any particular one that you would recommend based on what you know of?
Yeah, we were discussing, we were thinking about because we just started and going a long term. Just the one in the middle, the one with this. Let me go to that slide. So that will be strategy 2. This one right here. When CalPERS started doing this, they started like in 2007. Before the for-profit organizations were doing this. They only have one strategy, but now they have these 3. So we think it's these 2, and during the last 5 years, they have a return about 9%. So this is what we discuss in our meetings with the superintendent and Reyes in our human resources, because we believe this is a good way to start. And we could change, as year after year, but this is what I think we would think that's the appropriate.
How much of the additional diversity of choices do you believe are tied to the fact that prior to 2007, CalPERS took some very aggressive investments, and then in the end it wound up not paying off, and in part is part of the reason why things are underfunded, why our retirement obligations are underfunded right now.
Yeah, so they used to do only pensions, right? Yes, for so this is when they start. Yeah, so I think they're very diversified. I have another slide, so they're like on the 10 years they have made between 8 and 7. So that's so they're very diversified now. So, but yes, there is some risk associated with it. It's an investment.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. A quick question, and sorry, I'm when I'm looking at this stuff, I'm thinking of things, and I don't hear everything, so I apologize if you already covered this. But let's say we do go this route, and all of a sudden we have a really bad year, and it goes negative for that year, or let's say we have a couple of bad years and it goes negative for a while. Now, me being a typical investor, I know that's when you write it out and stuff like that, and you don't take any investments out. But how would this affect us if we had 1 or 2 bad years and the economy or the market went negative?
You mean like when we put the funds there, so if we have like the economy or the state, if we don't have the funds, we will not invest. But once we put it there, and if I think that was your question, once we put it there and there are some 5 years, this is better. This is a long-term investment. So overall, this is 10 plus years, and in the district, we will have the funds. So in the long term, yes, there will be some bad years, but over the long run, this is we believe is a good strategy for the district, as you could see the funds and what the districts have. So yes, the market goes up and down. So I think to answer your questions, we have some bad years. We just have to keep going. Just have to keep doing it. So just leave the money there. We will not touch that. So we will probably, it will be at least 5 years where we could see some how much we have to contribute. That's my thinking. Minimum 5 years.
Okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, that means that like if we did have a bad year, we might have to we wouldn't be contributing to this, but we might have to contribute to benefits overall or so. But this will still be kind of going in the background, and when the economy did pick up again, we would reap those benefits again. But if we did have 1 or 2 bad years, that might be a year that we would have to contribute more to benefits. Is that how I'm reading that?
We have some by years. No, I mean it's the opposite. So if we have some good fiscal years, that's when we contribute to this. If there are some years where we are tight, we don't contribute to this. That's a strategy.
I have a quick question. I heard you throw out the number 1 million. Is that the initial investment amount in this, or they don't pay out till you hit $1 million?
No. That's just the cost. I think it's right here.
Okay.
I was trying to explain the 10 basis point because this is a financial point. This doesn't mean anything. 10 basis points
Okay.
is equivalent to $1,000 for 1 million in assets. So it is, they have billions, and that's when I mentioned the $1 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions or comments?
So I just want to point out to the board that later in the agenda, then we wanted the presentation to be the first piece that we give you so that you gain in your understanding around this. And then later in the agenda, we're going to ask you to approve us moving forward in this. And so we just want to be sure that now it's just the presentation, and then the approval, the request for approval will be coming later.
Thank you for.
And I want to thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you for that. For the understanding, for making it understandable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item E, food services / wellness / Hazel report.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm going to share my screen. It's not working.
Kathy, do you want me to share it and you talk about it?
Could you please? Yes.
Okay, so let me go share. Let me bring it up and everything. Okay, so let me go to here. So give me a second. I
practiced this all day and it didn't work.
Let me bring it up. So
Happens to all of us, Kathy.
Yes, it does.
So I have it, but now I need to share it. So give me a second. So I have it. So just Kathy, just tell me when to move it, and I had a presentation here.
Okay. So is it on present?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So good evening, President DeLuz, board members, Mr. Reyes, and all other guests. This is I'm Kathy Moen. I'm the food service director. And so go ahead, Gerardo, to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to share with you guys that the food service nutrition services vision, we've had a vision to try to, create healthier and more fresh choices for our students, to educate them on the impact that it would have in their lives. We were moving toward this goal, and the pandemic hit, kind of set us back a little bit, but I want to say that we are now, I think, trying to get back on the right track to send food home to students that are better for them than what we kind of rolled into back in March. And so I have been meeting with Mr. Reyes and Mr. Castillo about the creating a food and nutrition service initiative. So there'll be more of that to come later on down the road. I want to share with you this amazing food service staff that I have. These ladies found out on the 13th that school was closing, and on the 16th they came to work with a new way of thinking, and we created Meals on Wheels. With the assistance of our yard duty, our custodians, and our transportation staff, we were able to deliver to 75 bus stops in our community and 1 door-to-door route. This group has worked every holiday and even during the summer. since the day school closed, we have almost served 1 million meals. So they have been doing such an amazing job, and I'm very proud of them. In review of 2019 and 20, we are still at the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP, and that is still that allows all our students to eat for free, no matter what category they would fall under when they apply. Last year, our reimbursements were $2,369,000. And last year, the year before, it was 1.6. So with the pandemic, we actually brought in more revenue. Meals served, you can see that we've served 249,000 breakfasts, 371,000 lunches, and 91,000 suppers in 2019 and 20. Our total revenue for the year was $2.5 million. So we've been doing a lot, and you can see how it breaks down with the labor costs, the food cost, and the operating cost. Last year I came to you and told you about some equipment needs that we had. So this year I'm happy to share with you that this year we have purchased 5 sealing machines, and these sealing machines are machines that are going to help us package food better to send home for families during distance learning. And we're believing that these are going to help us create fresher and different choices for our supper program once kids finally come back to school and we have them all here. We were able to purchase those machines with a grant that Erica Lee was able to get for us. So, and then we also purchased 2 more combi ovens. So now all 5 of our school have these brand new combi ovens that allow us to cook with steam and heat, and they're amazing. And so we got those on a grant. 5 single door refrigerators we were able to purchase with FFEP money, which is a grant. Our shelves and racks we purchased with a grant. And the biggest one that I am proud to announce is that the walk-in refrigerator for Glenwood. I have been trying for 4 years to try and get this to happen. And with Gerardo, he has finally made this a possibility. We have purchased the walk-in. We are prepping the concrete so that we can install it. And Glenwood is going to be extremely happy. So.
Kathy, I'm sorry. You mentioned the grant, and I couldn't quite hear it. What was the grant that paid for this?
So we had the sealing machines was paid from the No Kid Hungry grant. They purchased all 5 machines. The 2 combi ovens came from the USDA equipment grant. The single door refrigerators we were able to get with the fresh fruit and vegetable grant. And then the walk-in is actually coming out of the food service money, food service.
Okay, thank you.
When school returns, we're going to start with having breakfast in the classroom. We are creating simple yet fresh menu items for students to enjoy during the first 15 minutes of class time. The kitchen staff will prepare each meal, place it in an insulated bag, and deliver to the classroom right before school starts. When students come in, they are enticed to grab a meal and have a seat. We hope the teachers will see this importance of this and will want to continue this program moving forward. We've done Harvest of the Month now for a couple years, and I shared with you what our harvest of fruits and vegetables that we're using this year. Normally we do taste testings in the cafeteria, but with those students, we thought outside the box, and we created a Harvest of the Month recipe kit. So each month our kitchen staff create this kit. They put all the ingredients into the bag, and we send it home for the families to be able to create themselves. This bag in the corner here is a sunshine roll-up. And so it comes with a tortilla, some chicken, a mandarin orange, some celery, and lettuce. And they are able to create this meal here. It's been a big hit. We've had families actually call us and tell us that their daughters are in there making their salads for the dinner, and they were really pleased with this. And so we've had quite a few parents call and thank us for this recipe kit that we're sending home. Okay, Gerardo. The fresh fruit and vegetable program. as we've spoke before, this is something that we get $109,000 a year to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. We supply, when kids were in school, we were sending each day we would send a different fruit or a vegetable to the classroom. But since the kids haven't been there, we've been actually bagging them up and sending them home in their Meals on Wheels bags. We're coming up with, things that we come across fruits and vegetables that kids haven't seen before. Like there's a rambutan and a dragon fruit. So we've been thinking outside the box and sending these things home, so parents can actually see these different kinds of fruits and vegetables as well. I have some photos to share with you for our Meals on Wheels photo program. These are some of the pictures that were taken when it started. And so these kids come out on their own. They don't have their parents with them. They're out there picking up their meals every day, getting their food. And then these are my amazing lunch ladies and gentlemen that helped start this program back in March, and they've been moving and going ever since. We'd still like to recognize our Robla community partners. Most of them have been here for a while, but I want to put one partnership out there is the Family Meals of Sacramento. We have a restaurant of different chefs that will prepare meals. I don't know if you guys were out at the sites, but the 2 dinners this year were actually donated by this group of people, where they created a dinner for 4, and we sent it out right before our empowerment dinner presentation. And they also have been bringing food to each school, and we have been putting that in. So families will come through, pick up their Meals on Wheels bag, and then they would also donate a meal for them for their family. So they've been really amazing this year. And that's all I have tonight. Do you have any questions?
I would like to commend you on everything you have done. You've been a savior for a lot of families.
Thank you.
And I would also like to say, I was listening to you talk about the food kits that you're sending home where the kids can prepare a meal. Does that come with written directions or?
Yes, it comes in. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking, I don't know if you guys want to do this, but it might be cool if you had the kitchen staff maybe once a week do a tutorial and post it to the Robla YouTube channel, so that way the kids get to know the kitchen staff better for when they return.
Right. My kitchen staff ride the buses, and they're out there seeing the kids, and they're excited to see them. They also, we do have a recipe card inside, and also a flyer that describes what the fruit and the vegetable is that we're honoring for this. And so my staff are out there every day riding the buses as well. The kids know them, they miss them so much, and they're going to be so excited when they finally get to come back.
Good. I just wanted to make sure that you guys still have the connection with the kids, because I know my son loved everybody in the kitchen and in the cafeteria, and I would hate for kids to lose that.
Oh, they're out there on the buses all the time.
Fantastic.
I even rode the buses with them, and it's just amazing to go out and see it all in action.
Fantastic.
I want to commend you as well. Sorry for Craig for cutting you off there. I know you're trying to speak, but I want to commend you as well. This is just phenomenal work, and I'm really glad that we're able to provide this, or I say that you were able to provide this, because I'm not doing any other cooking. So it just makes me really, really proud to see this. And I've seen some of the stops, and every time I see them, it just makes me proud. I did not know that it was at 75 stops. And I can't imagine the logistics behind getting food to 75 stops. So congrats on that as well. That's just, it just makes me really proud. So thank you very much.
Patty Brown has been amazing and engineering that all the stops. So she's, I owe it all to her and her drivers.
Thank you.
I have a stop literally right on the corner, almost across the street from my house. And so I get a chance to see the families that come all the time, and get a chance to see the staff. And, I have all the respect in the world, and I really appreciate our first responders, but I think that there are a lot of people who during this pandemic have really been there on the front lines, and your staff our transportation staff and our kitchen staff are amongst those people who have been true heroes in terms of helping to keep things going during this pandemic. And if they're watching, I just want you to know that I think of you that way, that we, the board, think of you that way. And if they're not watching, if you get a chance to talk to them, Kathy, let them know how much we appreciate everything that they're doing. And I just want to just express my admiration.
Thank you.
I like to echo that.
Proud.
I like to echo that too. And I've seen them stop by your house, Craig, driving by there, and I see them in my neighborhood a lot and stop and talk with Kyle and your staff on the buses. And I want to echo everything Craig said, but they are our Robla ambassadors to the community. They're so cheerful, and the neighbors are you can see they feel welcome coming out, looking forward to seeing them. And it's not just delivering food, they're delivering the spirited core.
Yes.
So thanks for all you're doing.
Yeah. We've even gained a new student. His name is, we call him Tom, and he's a turkey. And when the bus pulls up over on Sorrento Road, the turkey jumps up on the bushes and he sits there and he makes his noises until Sherry gets out and gives him some crackers. So she always packs some crackers for him. And he's out there every day when the bus pulls in. And I actually have a picture of it I was going to share, but I didn't. So, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
I saw that turkey yesterday. I didn't know it was the bus. I saw him, and the guy had the car door open, and there's that turkey sitting there. Yeah.
Yep, he was waiting for the bus to get there.
All right, Kathy, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Bye.
All right, now I think we're on to the wellness report.
So we're just doing food services tonight.
Oh, just food services tonight. Okay.
Food services. The rest will come later.
Excellent. Okay. So then we'll move on to action items. And action item number 1 is approve entering into contract with Maxim Healthcare Staffing Services, Inc.
So, Mrs. Graham, do you want to say a few words about this?
Yes. So we would like to contract with Maxim because they offer certain health-related services, and what we don't want to have happen is if we need a service like, let's just say, nursing or nursing aid for a student, or this upcoming testing that we're looking into. If we have a contract with Maxim already, we can get those services going quickly. Otherwise, just the amount of time that it takes to get into contract can take a little while, and we don't want to be in that position. So contracting with them would allow us that flexibility to be able to get into contract if we need to do that.
Okay, so understanding it's not necessarily, we're not committing to a certain number of hours or anything like that. It's just if we need their services, these are the agreed upon amounts, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item B, establishment of an irrevocable trust for post-employment benefits and approving an agreement with California Employers Retirement Benefit Trust program.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is the item that we discussed earlier during presentations. Is there any further discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, consideration and approval of extension of the superintendent's contract through June 30th, 2023.
Mrs. Sullivan's going to say a few words about this.
Hi, good evening, President DeLuz, board members, and Superintendent Reyes. and the rest of my colleagues who've joined us tonight. So I have perhaps the easiest report of the evening to help the board members and those who are listening in tonight understand. There's a new requirement whenever the board is asked to consider a contract for an executive level staff member in public schools, that we must report out any fiscal impacts and an oral report at the same time that the consideration is occurring. And so that's what I'm here to do tonight. We are asking that the board extend the superintendent's contract into 1 year into 22-23 school year. At this time, there are no fiscal impacts because there are no changes to the superintendent's salary or health and welfare benefits. So there's my report.
Well, that was simple enough. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, item D, approve IBOS content filter renewal and classroom management add-on.
So
So,
moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion?
and Adam, I know Adam is here as well. If there are any questions from the board around this item.
What's the new classroom management tool? The add-on.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Adam?
Yeah, 1 second. So classroom management tool, it allows teachers to monitor student Chromebooks, send out links directly to them so they can easily keep them on task, monitor what websites they're accessing. There's a number of other products that have this. IBOS just recently introduced it. And so we're doing an early renewal to basically get it included in the cost of the renewal.
Excellent. Okay.
Great.
Thank you,
And
Adam.
this is the program that Ms. Lyons alluded to, right?
I don't think so.
No,
No,
Oh, that's not the one that Ms. Lyons was talking about?
No.
no, that's.
no, I don't think
I
so.
think you're thinking about DigiCoach, which is what we
Yes.
use
Oh, yeah.
for
Right,
classroom
I'm sorry.
walkthroughs.
Okay.
I think it sounds like it's more of a monitoring program to make sure kids are staying on task,
That's right.
to make sure they're not going to sites they should not be accessing,
That's
things
correct.
like that.
Excellent. Okay. Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item E, addendum, approve March 22nd, 2021 for reopening district schools in the transition model.
So move.
So second.
So I'd like to speak to this, Mr. President, if I could.
Yes, sir.
I think it's very important for the community to understand how we have landed on this specific date to recommend to the board for reopening our schools in the transition model. I'll remind everyone that the transition model is the model where students come to school, those students whose parents choose to send them to school, because parents will still have the choice to leave their child on full-time distance learning. We surveyed our parents in December and asked them to make a firm choice for the day that when we did reopen, what they would like to do so that we could plan our staffing accordingly. We have done that. Students have now been placed according to parent requests, either in the transition model or the distance or remaining on the distance learning model. When the transition model opens, I won't go, there's 133 pages of how it will work. That is on our website, and that has been on our website since the summer, when we thought maybe we would open in August, and we did not. But just very quickly, it means that of the students that are coming to school, half of them will come to school in cohort A, and cohort A will come to school on Monday and Tuesday. And then the other half of the students will come to school in cohort B, and that will be on Thursday and Friday. Wednesday is a non-student day. That will be a day where teachers will do online learning as well as collaboration on campus. in the morning time. It's also a day of deep cleaning between cohort A and cohort B. There's lots of other details. I think it's just really important to note that we landed on this date because it's a few weeks away, number one, and a few weeks away gives us a little bit more time to be ready. We do have a few final things that we need to put in place around our air quality study, other little details that we are working on. And so it gives us a few weeks to do that. If the board were to approve this date tonight, it gives us ample time to notify staff and notify families that this is happening. So if you were to approve it tonight, I would see that we could notify staff immediately and notify parents early next week, and they would have 3 weeks in order to kind of get ready and understand that the child will be coming back to school if that's the model they selected. We also landed on this date because this is 1 week before spring break. So the plan at this point is that we will come back to school in the transition model on March 22nd, and we will come to school for 1 week. And then we will take a spring break. So this is what we have been calling unofficially our sneak peek at coming back to school. A 1 week sneak peek of what school will look like. And then we will have 2 weeks to fix anything that didn't work very well, if such a thing happens during break before students come back to school again then on April 12th for the final 8 weeks of school. The other reason we landed on this date is because as I think most of you know, we had the opportunity today, those of us who wanted to get a COVID-19 vaccine were able to do so today. And that is a number of our staff members. This means that our second shot will be on March 18th. There is some research that says that people do react to the second shot. There's sometimes 24 to 48 hours of flu-like symptoms. So this allows that to happen on the 18th and 19th and maybe 20th. And then school is starting a couple of days after that. So we had this fear of maybe this mass, everybody's calling in sick on the same day because everybody's having flu symptoms. This would allow that to happen. We actually have a contingency plan for how we will work with employees on the 19th, if indeed many of them do react to the second shot. And but that would all pass so that school can then begin to open on the 22nd. I want the board to rest assured that I have been in consultation this week with both the Robla Teachers Association and the CSEA, and they have asked all of the questions they want to ask. They have expressed their concerns. We have talked about the assurances that need to be in place, and I am happy to say that consultations really do help us to make sure that we're doing the right thing by our employees. Our MOUs have been agreed upon for months now, so that's been something that we are pleased to say has been the case with Robla. And then the final thing I'll mention is simply that we are awaiting specific direction from the state around how COVID testing will work. We anticipate that there will be a requirement from the state about surveillance testing, and that's just ongoing testing that a school district must do of employees and possibly students in order to make sure that we check every so often that nobody has COVID. Now that's different from the testing that we would do if we had someone exposed and we had to, test the whole class or something like that. This is just the ongoing surveillance testing. And we have already actually established a connection to a state lab, Valencia, and we are ready, and we have a draft of our testing plan, which went actually to the county tonight for them to give us feedback. And this is another final piece that we need to make sure is in place for when our schools reopen. So I want the board and the community to rest assured that the Robla staff has been working very diligently to make sure that we are ready. And the date that we are proposing is a date that we feel completely confident that we will be ready and that everybody, staff and students, can be safe at school beginning on that day.
Right.
Any questions?
I have one quick question. Do we have a plan in place in case we need a substitute? Like if a teacher, say, does catch just the flu?
Yeah, that, there's no easy answer to that. Mrs. Devine, I just want you to know that.
Oh, I know. That's why I asked.
Yeah, substitutes can be an issue in regular times.
Right.
We do have, and Mrs. Sullivan, jump in here, but we do have a contract with a company that does provide substitutes. That was our savior last year, actually before the pandemic hit. And we are confident that between our own list of subs and this contract with Swing, that we will do the best that we can to make sure that we have the substitutes we need, should we need them.
Okay.
Would you add anything to that, Mrs. Sullivan?
I actually met with Swing last week because I had some concerns about the fact that so many schools were closed that Swing may have lost a number of their substitute pool, just because people were out of work and probably needed work and had to go find other jobs. But they did assure me that they do have quite a few in our area. And so I feel confident that we will have decent fill rates when we do require a sub. And the bulk of our subs will come through, for our teachers, will come through the Swing program. And that's where we have most of our availability.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a real quick question. Now, I know that earlier we had surveyed. So what percentage, I know that you said in December, we asked them to make a hard decision. Would they come or would they not? What percentage of students are actually going to be coming to class and what percentage are going to be doing full-time distance learning?
It was in December, the number was, and we asked parents, we actually even gave them a grace period to change their mind, and that ended on December 12th. At that point, we were about 60% returning and 40% staying at home. Mm-hmm. Now, since that time, the numbers of COVID cases went up, and we did have some parents call and say, oh, I said I would come back, but now I'm feeling nervous about coming back. And so we took the names of those parents and we said, we'll contact you. We had that discussion this week with the principals. So they will be following up with those families to see, okay, now that we're in March and the numbers have gone back down, are you still feeling that you want to move to the distance learning model, or are you okay with the transition model? So my guess, and it's a guess, Mr. DeLuz, there isn't a whole lot of science to it, but I would say that my guess is that we'll be at about 50%. It will be pretty close to half staying at home and half coming to school. And remember that means that if only half are coming to school and only half of the half are coming to school on any given day, it will only be a quarter of the students at any given school that will actually be at school on any school day.
I know this isn't part of the agreement that we were, the MOUs that we worked out, but would there be a way where we could have the students who actually are coming have them all there all 4 days, as opposed, does that work with the distance, with the social distancing, or is that just still something we're not going to mess with?
That's exactly the problem. So if we wanted so we've placed the students who are coming back to school in a group of 24, and we needed one teacher to do that. And so 12 will come on this day and 12 will come on this day. And the classroom only fits 12 to 15 students. So we could not allow all 24 to come on any day because our classrooms are not big enough.
Okay. Do we anticipate that the transition model will be just through the end of this year? Or are we anticipating it's going to be something that'll go into the following year?
That is the most common question I have been getting. And I wish I could answer it. I do not know. I don't. I think that, all I can do is do my research and read the paper and look at the scientific studies. I did see a study recently that projected that there's a possibility that the country could reach herd immunity in July. And they admitted that was a pretty rosy, picture. Lots of things would have to be in place. Mm-hmm. But again, that's July. So that would mean that this school year would need to remain on this model for this year. And then I don't really have any guesses as to the fall. I think it'll just depend on how things go over the next few months.
Mm-hmm. And has the state or the county provided any additional data in terms of, at least, I know that our schools have been closed, but in terms of schools that have been open, have they provided any additional data relating to transmittability or anything like that regarding students, teachers, and schools that have remained open?
No, we've not received any official numbers from either entity. I will say that I have tried to take responsibility for staying in contact with local districts that have opened. I think the board is probably aware. Alberta opened a few weeks ago. River Delta has been open for about, I think since November. Folsom Cordova, I'm sorry, opened also in November. And the communication with those school districts are that they are doing very well. You know, they have had incidents where they've had to test groups of people because they've had some exposure, but there have really been no closures once schools have opened.
What do you mean by doing very well? Is that doing very well as in curriculum, or doing very well as in
No, I meant
transmission,
during,
or
yeah,
what?
yeah.
I mean, you know.
When I said doing very well, I meant doing very well in terms of we're not having hundreds of people getting sick because they're all together at a school site.
Okay. And Trustee DeLuz asked about state and county information, I believe. When you're looking for data, is there a way to look for federal data as well?
Yes, I'm sure there is. I will admit that I've not necessarily been looking closely at federal data. It's mostly been local data that I have, California data and local regional data that I have been looking at.
There was a study released, I want to say about 3 weeks ago by the CDC, which pretty much had echoed other private studies that have been done earlier in the year. That's the only federal data on a major scale that I know of that's out there. All right, any further discussion or debate? Hearing none, I believe we already have a motion on the floor. So since there's no more discussion or debate, we'll go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. On item 5, board member requests for future agenda items and reports. We'll start with Trustee Devine. Anything you'd like to see on the agenda or any reports?
Nope, not at this time.
Official request. Trustee Barnes?
There was some question about our Chromebook use and how many of those have gone out or been replaced. Some information about that. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have a pretty big federal vote that may affect our funding as far as the pandemic tomorrow. I'm not sure about the date on that vote or so. That's my way of saying that I will probably have questions when, if and when we have that decision. So, expect questions then. I don't have them right now, but expect some questions then for, Mr. Reyes and, of course, Mr. Castillo, how that affects us.
Okay. Trustee Boyd.
I don't have any requests, but I do, I was thinking that we have a board presentation, superintendent reports, and so I had one made up where I met with Mr. Pagani from New Hope, which I'm not going to go through now, but I just want to capture the last sentence that I had in my report here, where Mr. Pagani was thankful for the Robla personnel being so cooperative, and he named Superintendent Reyes, Shari Malspin, Adam Babia, and Sandy Graham specifically, and he said many more, but since we're all here, I wanted to report that he did name them out. But the reason I bring it up, I asked the superintendent yesterday, it occurred to me, I don't know if there may be a conflict of interest of me sitting on both boards here, making fiscal decisions, and if we may be able to look into if there is going to be a conflict before I do get involved with that. There's a lot of exciting news to probably come at the next board meeting on this, but if we could work to make sure,
I can double check that, Mr. Boyd. I would just say this. The plan to have a Robla school board member serve on the board of the charter school was something that they proposed from the beginning. And I will remind the board that we did have our legal team review that plan. So, we can absolutely double check it, but it is my assumption that if that was an issue, that our attorneys would have brought that forth at the time when we brought you forth the recommendation to approve the charter.
Okay, yeah, and I saw we had passed it through the attorneys. I wasn't sure, so that pretty much answers the question. Okay, I feel a lot more comfortable now. Thank you.
Trustee,
That's all I have.
President DeLuce, sorry to interrupt, but I just noticed that we do have questions on our YouTube channel, and we just don't really quite have a system of how to address those questions when we're in a Zoom meeting. So I would just say, we do need to, if we're going for future Zoom meetings, hopefully we won't have too many more, but we do need to figure out how we can address questions on our YouTube channel.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm sure that between Superintendent Reyes and Adam will figure that out. One thing that I would like to say is that as we go forward, as the students come back, I think I really would like to have as a regular part of the superintendent's report would be any information or data on testing or anything like that. Just have it to be kind of a regular part of the superintendent's report, just so that we can know how that's going.
Sure.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, Brett, anything, Trustee Cardona?
Nope, nothing here.
All righty. Well, with that, then we're going to move on to adjournment. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Once again, please feel free to give us a call. Call the superintendent. Call us board members. You guys have any questions, any comments, or you just want to talk about the Robla School District. So once again, thank you so very much. We appreciate you tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.